Hey, thanks everyone for joining. Sorry that I'm running a little bit late here, and I'm also working to get my local, which I blew up and forgot to fixed here. I think we have a pre-submitted question here. Maria, I'll look for that in the chat here. All right, so Maria, you have a question. Working with a for each loop that may have reached its recursion limit. We have the limit set to 50,000 and there are currently 50,600 records. We have not been notified of any issues. And based on the results in production, we were assuming that it ran the first 50,000 and just skipped the last 600. Is there a place in the system where we can check to see if that's the case? And also, will recursion limits trigger an exception that we can receive notifications about if the process does actually just skip the last few records? That is a great question.
And we're on version 6. I forgot to put that in there.
So this is I'm assuming, given the volumes here, this is some sort of background processing flow?
Yes, it's a name and address record. So it's contacts.
Does it get kicked off by a scheduled job?
Yes, at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, then you should see, if you go search your logs and search for the word recursion, you should see these failures in the log.
Okay.
You'll see, now you're not going to get, because it's running on the background thread, or it's not a user action, you're not going to see, you're not going to be prompted. And a user won't be prompted at all when that recursion is hit. Now, to your point about skipping, I think the answer to that question depends on the design of the flow. So in the loop, are you like saving these records or doing something?
Yes, they're coming in as a CSV file, and then we're writing them into a decisions table.
Inside the loop, you're actually doing the insert?
Correct.
So the way we handle recursion, it's actually at the step level. So what happens is, if you've set your recursion to 50,000, and just to be clear, there's no reason for you not to just, if this is a big flow, set that to be millions, right? Like, there's going to be a lot of looping and a lot of steps that are hit in this flow. So there's no downside for you to have a very high recursion. We set it to 20,000 kind of arbitrarily, so that you can, in case you design a flow that's badly designed, and like you don't just lose any work or take your system down inadvertently. But there's no risk for a flow that is going to have lots of step executions for you to increase that recursion limit dramatically. So I would say, if you're even in the ballpark of your recursion, of your expected processing count being near your recursion count, then you should
yes, we could increase it, and we will, but it's for F&B, so there's a change control involved.
Mm-hmm.
That means that we just can't go in there today and change it to 100,000. We have to put in a request for change control, so it's going to be like a few weeks before we can actually just go in there and do that in production. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's like an extremely safe change. Just as a note.
Right. No, I agree with you. But the person whose job is on the line, if he changes something without going through change control, is understandably reluctant.
Right. Yeah, understood. So now the question is, do we catch the exception? And
Yeah, like if I add a
Um,
catch exception step, I know it won't tell anybody because it's not a person kicking it off at 4 o'clock in the morning. But if I were to add a catch exception step and say if it hits this exception, email somebody, would recursion be caught as that type of exception?
I'm unsure. And I think what I'm gonna have to do is actually restart my computer really quick to get my environment back in a state where I can demo this for you, or we can confirm together. So if you can bear with me
Okay,
just 1 sec, I'm gonna hop off and rejoin the meeting here so I
no
can get
problem.
my environment set up. Apologies, everyone. Just
I'm sorry, Will, are you saying anything? Because you're muted.
I'm. You didn't hear anything I've been saying.
Nope, not a word. I understood what you did, but I didn't know
Yeah.
what.
Well, all I did was so far, and I'm sorry about that, is just force a recursion.
Right.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a catch exception step in here. And I'm going to see if I can get this form to show up. Thank you. Oops, sorry, I don't want to debug. So I'm going to right click this. Yeah, I don't think we can catch a recursion with a catch exception step.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. Catch exception, avoid business rule exceptions, evaluation order, number of catches. Interesting. Oh, what is it? Error catch intermediate event? Oh, that's probably some of those like these are drawing steps, aren't they? Yeah, steps, interesting. Let's look at our settings. Maybe there's some sort of flow setting here. If I look at recursion policy, stop recursion at allow flow start recursion. So yeah, right now we don't, even on the current version, the workflow engine can't catch its own recursion. So how would you know that this is happening?
Yeah, and in the case of 600, it doesn't really. I mean, I hate to say it doesn't matter, but we only need to use a small subset of them, and the chances that it's someone whose ID and begins with a Z on any given day is so small as to be ridiculous. But if we keep increasing, that increases the chances that there are ones we won't have.
Yeah, I think so it is. I mean, it's fair to think that we should allow you to be informed of these when they occur better, which we're not. But right now, there's no way to know besides just checking the logs or using some sort of log ingestion tool. I would say probably the safest route here is work with your customer to get this change control through and just put that recursion or any other flow that you expect to have lots of loops, that has a significant amount of looping in it, and increase the recursion limit on any of those flows.
So I was going to originally suggest 100,000, but I heard you say I could set it to 1 million.
Yeah,
which means it would happen after our retirement, and then that would be somebody else's problem.
Yeah, I mean, you could run. I think you can set it as high as like max int 32.
Oh,
it can be an extremely large number.
Okay, we'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we won't have to worry about this again.
But yeah, I think that's it. I would just say, I'd focus on pushing through the change control so you can get this update made.
Right. Okay, but I thought we had to increase it in smaller increments is what I was worried about. That if I can put in 1 million, then it doesn't really matter. Once I put it in, it's from 50,000 to 1 million is going to take quite a while. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So, and there's no danger as long as you know the flow design is tight. There's no danger to allowing a lot of recursions. It's just that we arbitrarily set it low for you.
Oh, I do have a question since you're showing the setting. What is the keep active time span?
That's so if you have yeah, great. No, go ahead, please.
I was gonna say, is that how long it'll run? Like if it takes more than 30 minutes, it'll stop? What is that?
That's specific to when you have like a user like UI element, like a form.
Oh, okay.
And so like, let's assume I have an in-session form where someone is submitting like a task into my queue or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
Keep active time span. It says when I load this flow into memory, I will keep it open for like this amount of time.
Gotcha.
But so a flow that doesn't have user experience controls in it, or like steps that show forms and more basically, it can run an infinite amount of time. There's no time limit on how long that flow. But because we wanted to allow you to say, there's no reason to keep this flow open permanently. Like if someone opens let's assume someone clicks a link from an email to go to an in-session form to submit something, and then they close that tab. We want to be able to allow you to close those open sessions out. And that's what that keep active time span allows you to do.
Okay, back to kind of this connection between these two things. So is there a setting somewhere that will, or an exception, something that I can set that says, if this process of writing to the database has run longer than, I don't know, 45 minutes, let someone know. Because that would also tell me if there's something wrong with it, I would think. Because I think it takes about 5 minutes to run 30,000 records, so.
They asked that question again for me.
So what I was wondering about that thing was, would it stop the flow after 30 minutes? That's what I originally thought that keep active time span was for.
Mm-hmm.
But since that's not what it does, is there something I could put in that says, if this, kind of night work process runs longer than 30 minutes, just let somebody know about it so we can figure out why.
You want to be notified if it goes longer than you expect it to?
Correct.
It would probably be something very intentional, like you would right before the end of the flow, like you're trying to identify slow running flows or something like that. You might like get current time, and then you could do like a check, like a time span between or something.
Okay, and if it's been greater than whatever we determined, it would do that. But there's no such thing as tell me how long this flow took to run. That would notify me.
Not really. Not that's going to
Okay.
proactively alert you. And it's not. There's not a configuration that says alert me if this flow runs longer than X.
Gotcha.
So not really. But you could design something in like near the end of your flow to be able to do something similar. But yeah, with the flow engine's so abstract, because you can have forms, or it can only be background processing like your process, and so it doesn't it's not some of these it just doesn't have some of these concepts like expected length, right? Or like how long expected duration, because it could take seconds, milliseconds, or hours.
Gotcha.
So any other questions today?
Nope. That clears it all up for me. Thank you.
Okay, you bet. All right, what other questions do we have from anyone in the audience today? Do we have any other pre-submitted questions? We got one from Manal here. Is there a way to have a $sign in the number box or a text box? I'm sure you can. Let's see here. Speak if you need to. So let's create a flow. And in the flow, we'll put a form. And on that form, we number box and a button. All right, if we look at our number box here, I'll just give it a garbage name. I believe output type, okay. Override. Behavior view. Ooh. Format. Custom. Decimal digit. Show number group separator, number separator. I swear you can. Is there currency control? Currency box, of course. You can if you use a currency control instead of a number box. And that should basically act exactly like a number box, except it'll display itself as currency. Gives you the same output type options. And I guess you can edit the currency symbol. Interesting. Yeah. So no, but we have a control called currency box that will allow you to do that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone in the audience today? All right, we're about that 30-minute mark here. We'll just give a few more minutes in case someone joins and has a question. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and call it an afternoon. Thanks for your questions today, everyone. Marie, who do we have up for the rest of the week?
Tomorrow we have Eric Wilmering with he's the product manager, and on Thursday we have Ryan Strasnick with the sales engineering team.
Wonderful. Okay, all right, thanks everyone. And I will not be here next week, so see you a week after next. But we are still having these. So, all right, thanks everyone. Have a great afternoon.